Hello, my name is Vivian. I'm 33 years old, and I live in San Diego with my husband, Cameron, and our 8-year-old daughter, Luna. On most days, our home sounds like an orchestra. Cameron whistling while he hangs string lights on the patio, Luna practicing her spelling with a dramatic stage voice, me clattering bowls in the kitchen as if applause might rise from the cabinets. We are not rich, but we are deliberate. For years, Cameron and I have been saving for Luna's future, college. What never matched the music was the dissonance from Cameron's side of the family. His sister, Sabrina, is older than our daughter in age, but far less mature in judgment. She calls her plans once in a lifetime, though they change every month. His mother, Elena, loves her openly and defends her loudly. I tried to fit myself into the puzzle with patience, with invitations, with grace that sometimes tasted like chalk. Some people, however, hear generosity as a challenge. Luna's 8th birthday was supposed to be simple. Cake, cousins, neighbors, the same backyard where she learned to blow bubbles and ride a scooter. I ordered lemon frosting because she says it tastes like sunshine. Cameron bought a paper crown that sheds glitter like a comet. My parents, Teresa and Peter, promised to arrive early to help set the table and keep me from overcooking the sliders. I wanted nothing extravagant, only a day that stayed gentle. But celebration can be a stage, and a stage can be a trap. Looking back, I can see the opening cues, the clipped texts from Sabrina, Elena's sudden questions about jewelry, the way Cameron's jaw tightened when his phone lit up late. I missed what those hints were spelling. The show, it turned out, had already begun. I told myself families wobble, but do not fall, not when a child's birthday steadies the week like a pin on a calendar. I was wrong about the center, though. I was born and raised in California, but after marrying Cameron, I came to San Diego with the promise that our life together would be both steady and bright. For years, we worked side by side, saving every dollar we could for Luna's future. It was never about buying bigger houses or driving flashier cars. It was about giving our daughter a foundation that could not be shaken. Cameron and I opened a savings account and marked it in our minds as untouchable. That fund was our vow to Luna. Every time I deposited a check, I pictured her at a college graduation in a cap and gown, walking across a stage with confidence. Every time Cameron added money, he whispered, "This is for her tomorrow." It became our quiet tradition. But Sabrina never saw it that way. To her, money wasn't about security or planning, it was about display. She always wanted more, not for need but for attention. When her friends hosted elaborate gatherings in Los Angeles or flew to Vegas for weekends of excess, she wanted to match them. Her eyes lit up at the thought of champagne fountains and rented limousines, while mine focused on Luna's homework folder and the jar of change we kept for emergencies. Sabrina made it clear that she believed Cameron owed her something. "You're my brother," she would say, and brothers look out for their sisters. In her world, looking out meant funding her whims. Cameron tried to stay patient, but every conversation ended in the same place. Sabrina demanding money, Cameron saying no, me reminding her that it was Luna's college fund. The arguments became so frequent that they felt like background noise. Elena, my mother-in-law, was no neutral judge either. She defended her daughter fiercely, insisting that family should support family, even when that meant bleeding dry the savings meant for a child's education. To Elena, my refusals made me selfish. She never admitted that enabling Sabrina's reckless behavior might be harmful. Instead, she scolded me with lines like, "You think you're better than us because you control the money." I learned to breathe through those words. I kept my focus on Luna, who deserved more than to grow up watching her family fight over greed. Still, the conflict never disappeared. It lingered like smoke after a candle was blown out, filling corners of our lives with tension. Teresa and Peter, my parents, often reminded me to stand firm. My father would say, "Vivian, you're doing the right thing. A child's future is sacred." My mother always added, "Don't let them shame you for protecting your daughter." Their voices steadied me, but they also made me aware of how deep the divide had become. And then came Luna's 8th birthday, the day that turned years of bitterness into a storm I could never forget. The week leading up to Luna's birthday was supposed to be filled with laughter, errands for decorations, and endless talk about which flavor of frosting she wanted. Instead, I felt like I was balancing on glass. Every text from Sabrina buzzed like a warning. One morning, she sent Cameron a long message filled with half pleas and half threats. If you really cared about me, you'd let me use some of that college fund. It's not like Luna needs it right now. I need it today. I want to throw a party in LA. Everyone will be there, and I can't show up looking broke. Don't let me be embarrassed in front of people who matter. Cameron read the text aloud at the kitchen table, his face a mask of disbelief. She's talking about draining our daughter's future just to impress strangers, he muttered, shaking his head. I watched Luna nearby, humming to herself as she arranged crayons by color. She was too young to know the weight of her aunt's words, and I silently promised myself she never would. When Cameron refused yet again, Sabrina's anger only deepened. She began dropping sarcastic remarks at family dinners. Wow, you two must think you're saints, keeping all that money locked away. Maybe you're saving for yourselves, not your kid. Elena always jumped in to echo her daughter, claiming that I had brainwashed Cameron into hoarding money. I could almost see the lines being drawn across our family, sides forming, trust collapsing. Despite it all, I pressed on with birthday preparations. I decorated our backyard with yellow and pink streamers, ordered Luna's favorite lemon cake, and picked out party favors shaped like tiny stars. Cameron strung fairy lights across the fence, his way of turning our modest space into something magical. My parents promised to arrive early and help with setup. Luna counted down the days with the kind of pure excitement only children carry, announcing every morning, 3 more sleeps, 2 more sleeps. Her joy became my armor. But in the background, I sensed a storm brewing. Sabrina's tone over the phone had sharpened. Elena's visits became more intrusive, filled with veiled comments about what family owes to family. I tried to dismiss it, but unease kept pricking at me. I told myself, it's just a birthday party. Even they won't ruin this day for her. I was wrong. I couldn't see it then, but Sabrina was already planning her scene. And Elena, as always, was standing right behind her, ready to applaud her cruelty. The morning of Luna's 8th birthday dawned with golden San Diego sunlight pouring through our kitchen window. Luna was already up before me, bouncing on her toes in her unicorn pajamas, singing, "It's my birthday, it's my birthday." Her hair was still wild from sleep, but her smile was perfect. I hugged her tight, inhaling the sweet smell of syrup from the pancakes Cameron was making. By noon, our backyard had transformed. Balloons tied to chairs swayed in the breeze, the picnic tables were draped with pastel cloths, and the scent of barbecue mingled with frosting. Cameron, proud of his handiwork, adjusted the string lights one more time, even though it was bright daylight. "When the sun sets," he said, "this place will sparkle for her." My parents arrived early as promised, carrying trays of food and warm embraces. Luna ran to them squealing, "Grandma, Grandpa." Their presence steadied me. I knew no matter what, they were on my side. Guests began to arrive. Neighbors, Luna's school friends, a few relatives. Laughter floated over the yard like confetti. For a while, it was exactly what I hoped for. Luna wore a paper crown, pretending she was queen of the party, and every adult bowed dramatically when she passed. I stood with Cameron, watching her run from the swing set to the snack table, and thought, maybe, just maybe, today will stay simple. And then Sabrina showed up. She swept through the gate 20 minutes late, sunglasses perched on her head though the sky was cloudy, and an expression that dripped with superiority. Elena was right behind her, dressed neatly but with the same sharp look in her eyes that told me she hadn't come just to celebrate. Cameron's shoulders stiffened beside me, and I felt my stomach tighten. Sabrina didn't bring a wrapped gift. Instead, she carried a designer tote bag and a smirk. "Happy birthday, Luna," she said loudly, bending down to hug her niece, though the gesture looked more like a performance for the crowd than genuine affection. Elena clapped her hands and added, "Our sweet Luna looks beautiful today." Their voices were honey over glass shards. Throughout the party, they lingered at the edges, whispering to each other, occasionally glancing my way with knowing looks. When I walked past them to refill drinks, Sabrina muttered just loud enough for me to hear. All this for a child when real family could use help. Some people care more about appearances than blood. Elena nodded solemnly, as if Sabrina had spoken wisdom. My chest tightened, but I forced myself to keep walking, balancing cups of lemonade in my hands. Cameron caught my eye, his jaw set. He leaned close and whispered, "Ignore them. Today is for Luna." I nodded, but in my heart, I knew they weren't finished. Sabrina and Elena hadn't come to celebrate. They had come to strike. And they were only waiting for the perfect moment to do it. The party had reached that sweet middle point when everyone was relaxed, plates half filled with food, children darting between the tables, and the cake waiting on its stand for the candles. Luna sat on a chair like a throne, cheeks flushed from running around, her crown a little crooked. I leaned down to fix it, kissing the top of her head. Cameron turned the music a little lower, ready to lead everyone in singing. That was when Sabrina's voice sliced through the joy, like a blade. "Wait, where's my mother's necklace?" she said suddenly, loud enough for everyone to hear. Guests fell silent. Sabrina's hand flew to her chest, pretending to notice something missing. Elena gasped on cue, clutching at her neck. "My gold heirloom, it's gone." My pulse spiked. "What are you talking about?" I asked, stepping closer. Sabrina's eyes darted around the yard before settling on Luna. Her finger pointed straight at my daughter. "She took it. I saw her near Mom's room earlier today. She must have stolen it." The words hit me like a punch. "What?" I nearly shouted. Luna's wide eyes brimmed with tears, her small hands trembling as she shook her head. "I didn't. Mommy, I didn't take anything." Elena's voice rose, sharp and cruel. "I knew it. That child has been spoiled. She's learning from her mother, thinking she can take what doesn't belong to her." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Guests exchanged uncertain glances. Some whispered. Others just stared. My parents pushed forward, Teresa holding Luna's shoulders, Peter glaring at Sabrina. My father's voice rumbled. "That's a serious accusation." But Sabrina only pressed on, feigning outrage. "I had it this morning. Now it's gone, and the only one sneaking around was her. Do the math." I could barely breathe. My daughter, my little girl with frosting still on her cheek, was being called a thief in front of everyone. "How dare you?" I said, my voice shaking but loud. "Luna would never do such a thing." Luna cried harder, sobbing into my side. "I didn't do it, Mommy, I promise." Cameron stepped forward then, his voice like thunder. "Enough, Sabrina. You don't accuse a child without proof. She's my daughter, and I know her heart. She didn't steal anything." But Sabrina only smirked, her eyes glinting with satisfaction as if she'd waited for this exact drama. Elena added fuel. She should empty her pockets. If she's innocent, she won't mind proving it. The humiliation was unbearable. They weren't just trying to shame my daughter. They were trying to destroy the bond between me, Cameron, and Luna. Sabrina's lie was a knife aimed at the core of our family. I knew then that she hadn't come to celebrate. She had come to humiliate, and she was only just getting started. Luna's sobs filled the air, her small body trembling as she clung to my side. My mother stroked her hair, whispering soothing words, while Peter's hands clenched at his sides. I could feel the stares of every guest boring into us, the weight of judgment and disbelief pressing down. I wanted to shield my daughter from all of it, to wrap her in my arms and make the world disappear. Cameron stepped forward, his voice cold and controlled, though I could see fury flickering in his eyes. "Sabrina, stop this madness right now. You accuse my daughter without evidence, and you dare humiliate her on her birthday? You're crossing a line you can't return from." But Sabrina wasn't finished. Her face twisted with anger, her voice sharp and cruel. "You're blinded, Cameron. You've let your wife control you, and now your daughter is following in her footsteps. She's a thief, just like her mother, spoiled, greedy, taking what isn't hers." Those words burned through me. I opened my mouth to answer, but before I could, Sabrina lunged toward the table, her hand wrapping around the handle of the glass juice jug. My heart stopped. In one swift, violent motion, she lifted it high and smashed it down onto Luna's head. The sound of shattering glass was drowned by Luna's scream. Blood trickled down her forehead, red against her pale skin. For a split second, the world went silent for me. I couldn't hear anything but my daughter's cry. Then chaos erupted. Guests screamed. Children burst into tears. My mother fell to her knees beside Luna, pressing a napkin against the wound. I cradled my daughter, my hands shaking as I tried to stop the bleeding. "It's okay, baby mommy's here. Hold on, please hold on." My tears blurred everything, but the sight of crimson on my daughter's face will forever be burned into my memory. Cameron roared, his voice like thunder cracking the sky. "Sabrina, you've lost your mind. How dare you lay a hand on my child?" He lunged toward his sister, forcing her back, his hands trembling with rage. Elena rushed forward, screaming. It was an accident. She didn't mean it. Her words rang hollow, pathetic against the sight of our injured daughter. Cameron turned on them both, his voice shaking with fury. "You call this an accident? You accused my daughter, and now you've assaulted her in front of everyone. This ends today. I swear on my life, you will never harm my family again." He pulled his phone from his pocket, his fingers steady despite the storm in his eyes. "I'm calling 911, he announced, his voice carrying over the chaos. "The police will handle this. You will answer for what you've done." Sabrina's face paled, but her chin jutted forward with defiance. Elena hovered near her, whispering support, as if her words could erase the blood on my daughter's face. But nothing could erase it. Nothing could undo what they had done. In that moment, surrounded by shattered glass and horrified guests, I realized that the fragile balance we had kept for years had finally collapsed. And though fear clawed at me, there was also a fierce certainty rising inside me. Justice was coming. The wail of sirens cut through the tense silence minutes later, and within moments, flashing red and blue lights painted the walls of our backyard. Guests parted like a tide as uniformed officers rushed in, followed by paramedics carrying bags of equipment. The air smelled faintly of blood and spilt juice, a sickening reminder of what had just happened. One of the paramedics, a woman with steady hands and kind eyes, knelt beside Luna. "Sweetheart, can you hear me? Stay still, okay? We're going to take care of you." She gently examined the cut, wrapping a bandage around my daughter's head as Cameron and I crouched close, whispering reassurance. Luna whimpered but nodded bravely, clutching my hand with all her strength. Across the yard, 2 police officers separated Sabrina and Elena from the rest of us. Sabrina tried to look outraged, her voice sharp. "That child stole my mother's necklace and then attacked me first. I only defended myself." Her performance might have worked if there hadn't been 20 horrified witnesses staring at her with disbelief. Elena chimed in, voice trembling but loyal to her daughter. "My necklace is gone. I know my granddaughter took it. Sabrina just lost her temper. This isn't as bad as it looks." The lead officer raised a hand, silencing them. "We'll sort this out. Everyone will give a statement. But what I see here is a child with a head injury and a witness list longer than my report form." His words carried no sympathy for their excuses. Cameron stepped forward, his voice raw with fury but steady. "Officer, my daughter did nothing wrong. My sister accused her of theft without proof, then smashed a glass jug on her head. Look around, half this neighborhood saw it happen." He gestured to the group of shaken guests, several already nodding, ready to speak. I added, my voice breaking but strong. "Please don't let them twist this. Luna is innocent. She's just a child." The officer's gaze softened slightly toward me before hardening again as he turned back to Sabrina and Elena. "You'll both need to come with us for questioning. If the evidence matches what I'm hearing, this won't end well for either of you." The paramedics finished bandaging Luna and prepared to take her to the hospital for further evaluation. "It looks like a scalp laceration and mild concussion risk," one explained, "but she's stable. We'll keep her overnight just to be safe." The doctor also instructed a follow-up check, full rest, and immediate return to the hospital if any unusual symptoms appeared. I kissed my daughter's hand, whispering promises that I'd never leave her side. As the stretcher was wheeled toward the ambulance, I glanced back at Sabrina. Her defiance faltered, replaced by something closer to fear. Elena stood stiff beside her, eyes darting between her daughter and the officers. For the first time, I realized they were losing control of the story. The truth was slipping through their fingers, and the law was about to take it from them entirely. At the hospital later that night, while Luna lay resting with a clean bandage wrapped around her head, Cameron and I sat across from two detectives in a small consultation room. My hands trembled as I replayed the scene in my mind, the glass jug crashing down, the blood on my daughter's face. Cameron squeezed my hand beneath the table, steadying me as he answered the detective's questions. Back at the house, officers had begun their investigation immediately. Our backyard had a small set of security cameras installed, something Cameron had insisted on months earlier after a string of neighborhood break-ins. At the time, I hadn't thought much of it. Now, those cameras would become the sharpest witnesses of all. Inside the house, a small nanny cam near the guest room window also captured footage, ensuring the truth could not be hidden. The footage told a story more honest than words. It showed Sabrina entering the house earlier that afternoon, sneaking into Elena's guest room, and carefully removing the gold necklace from its box. The camera caught her sliding it into her purse, glancing around with calculated nerves. Moments later, she walked out calmly, her expression smug. Later, the footage showed her whispering with Elena, both of them glancing toward me and Luna as if setting the stage. When the detective showed us still images from the footage, my chest swelled with both relief and rage. Relief that my daughter was finally cleared of their vile accusation. Rage that Sabrina and Elena had orchestrated this entire humiliation, planned it, rehearsed it, and carried it out in front of neighbors, friends, and family just to shame me. The police wasted no time. Sabrina was formally arrested on charges of child assault, child endangerment, and false accusation. Elena, though she hadn't raised the jug herself, was taken into custody as well for aiding and abetting, obstruction of justice, and contributing to the false report. When the officers placed Sabrina in handcuffs, she still tried to lash out. "This is a mistake. You're ruining my life over one stupid necklace," she cried, but the officers remained unmoved. Elena wept as they led her away, but even in her tears she muttered, "We were only protecting our family." The irony was bitter. They had destroyed their family, not protected it. Back at the hospital, Cameron leaned close to me, his voice hoarse but resolute. "This is it, Vivian. No more forgiving, no more second chances. After this, I'm done with them. They'll never touch our lives again." I nodded, stroking Luna's small hand as she stirred in her sleep. My voice was quiet, but firm. "We will protect her. We will fight for her. And they will finally face the consequences of everything they've done." The weeks that followed felt like walking through heavy water. Every time I looked at Luna's bandaged forehead, I was reminded that my little girl had been attacked by her own aunt, all because of greed and bitterness. But the law was in motion now, and there was no stopping it. Subpoenas were issued, statements were collected, and eventually the case moved to the San Diego County Courthouse. After weeks of investigation, evidence collection, and preliminary hearings, the case finally reached the San Diego County Courthouse. On the morning of the trial, I held Luna's hand tightly as we walked up the courthouse steps. She was nervous, her small voice whispering, "Do I have to talk in there?" I bent down and kissed her forehead. "Only if they ask you, sweetheart. Daddy and I will do the talking. You just stay brave." Cameron walked beside us, his face set in a grim mask of determination. Inside the courtroom, the tension was thick. Sabrina sat at the defense table, dressed neatly, but looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Elena was beside her, shoulders slumped, eyes darting toward us but never meeting mine. Their attorney argued for leniency, claiming Sabrina had been emotionally overwhelmed and Elena had misunderstood the situation. But no polished words could erase the facts. The prosecution laid everything bare. They played the CCTV footage for the court, the room falling silent as Sabrina's betrayal unfolded frame by frame. Sneaking into the room, hiding the necklace, later whispering with Elena. Gasps echoed as the screen showed her lifting the glass jug and striking my daughter. Some jurors winced, others shook their heads in disgust. Medical reports were presented next. The doctor who treated Luna explained the laceration and the risk of concussion, detailing how the blow could have caused permanent damage. My stomach churned as I listened, but I forced myself to stay steady. This was justice for my daughter. Then it was our turn. Cameron spoke first, his voice strong and unwavering as he described how Sabrina had hounded us for money, how Elena had encouraged her, and how both of them had tried to destroy our daughter's innocence with lies. When it was my turn, I rose slowly, my palms damp, but I looked straight at the judge. "My name is Vivian," I said clearly, "and I am here because my sister-in-law accused my 8-year-old daughter of being a thief. She lied, she planted evidence, and then she smashed a jug over my child's head. My daughter will carry this memory for the rest of her life. I ask this court to remember that justice is not just about punishing cruelty, it's about protecting the innocent." Tears blurred my vision, but I didn't look away. I wanted Sabrina and Elena to see the strength they hadn't broken. In the end, the verdict came swiftly. The jury found Sabrina guilty on all counts: child assault, child endangerment, and false accusation. She was sentenced to several years in state prison. Elena was found guilty of aiding and abetting, obstruction of justice, and received a lesser but still significant punishment, including jail time and probation. The judge's words were firm. You conspired against a child. You turned family into a weapon. This court cannot allow such cruelty to go unanswered. When the gavel fell, I felt a weight lift from my chest. Justice, finally, was ours. When the trial ended and the sentences were read, it felt like a door had slammed shut on years of quiet torment. Cameron and I walked out of that courthouse with Luna between us, her small hands clasped tightly in ours. The cameras and reporters swarmed, but all I could focus on was the warmth of her fingers and the knowledge that the law had finally stood on her side. For once, the truth had won without being drowned in lies. Cameron's decision was final. That night, he looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Vivian, I'm done with them. Forever. No more calls, no more visits, no more help. They chose hatred over love, and I won't let them poison us any longer." His voice didn't tremble. It was the sound of a man who had finally cut the last thread of guilt binding him to a toxic family. With his words, I felt relief wash over me. For years, I had carried the weight of trying to keep peace, trying to balance loyalty and dignity, but peace built on silence is not peace at all, it's surrender. Now there was no more pretending. Our little family of 3 was enough, strong enough to stand on its own. My parents, Teresa and Peter, opened their arms wide. "You'll stay with us until you're ready for the next step," my father said, his voice gentle. "This house will always be your safe place." They even offered us a small guest house on their property, a cozy space where Luna decorated the walls with drawings and Cameron hung fairy lights on the porch. For the first time in years, I could sleep without listening for footsteps outside the door or worrying about what drama Sabrina and Elena might unleash next. Luna healed quickly, though she bore a small scar near her hairline, a scar that became, to me, a reminder of her courage. She went back to school with her head held high, telling her friends proudly, "My daddy protected me. My mommy believed me." Children forget pain faster than adults, but the trust she carried in us deepened, and I knew we had done right by her. In the quiet evenings at my parents' place, Cameron and I often sat outside, watching Luna chase fireflies. We talked about the future again, not in fear, but in hope. The college fund was safe, untouched by greed. The bond between us was stronger, hardened by fire and tested by betrayal. Sometimes I thought about Sabrina and Elena, sitting in cells, facing the consequences they had spent their lives avoiding. I felt no pity, only a sober kind of closure. They had chosen their path, and justice had chosen the rest. One night, as Luna drifted to sleep in her new bedroom, Cameron pulled me close and whispered, "We may have lost family, Vivian, but we gained freedom. That's worth everything." I rested my head on his shoulder, the truth of his words sinking deep into my heart. We had been wounded, yes, but we were not broken. We had been betrayed, but we were not defeated. Our story was no longer about what had been taken from us. It was about what we had reclaimed: dignity, safety, and love. And as I kissed Luna goodnight, I promised myself that her childhood from that day forward would be filled not with fear, but with laughter, learning, and light. Because in San Diego, under that warm California sky, we were finally free to begin again. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories every week. Your support helps us bring you even more meaningful content.